Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Saturday's edition of the DCEU Daily. It's just under 4 weeks away until Warner Media will not exist, and we'll be talking about Warner Discovery, the hugest merger in entertainment history. This destroys the groundbreaking, record-breaking merger by Disney and Fox. This will make Warner Brothers the hugest media entity on the planet. I want to read a couple of articles about this. One is about official confirmation that the government have greenlit and ratified the Warner Discovery merger. Then I want to talk about an article from Deadline again about Ray Fisher and why he's piped up yet again. And then I want to discuss what the Warner Brothers Discovery merger actually means for the future of DC live action, because that's why we're all here for at the end of the day, right? So let's go. Warner Media Discovery merger gets green light from US regulators by Jill Goldsmith of Sportico. The merger of AT&T's Warner Media and Discovery has gotten the go-ahead from US regulators. The companies announced Wednesday clearing a last major hurdle for the $43 billion deal that will create a new media and entertainment giant called Warner Brothers Discovery. Regulators let the waiting period expire without objection, Deadline reports. It means Discovery execs might be a bit more forthcoming on at least some details of the merged company during a call following earnings scheduled for the morning of February the 24th. Wall Street and Hollywood alike have been eager to learn the particulars of the combined entity structure and leadership, but Discovery CEO David Zaslav legally has had to stay mostly mum until the deal closes. So what they're trying to say is, once this deal is official, and we're not there yet, but it's going to happen because there's a regulator kind of time period where the government can say, no, this isn't right. The Monopolies and Mergers Committee can come in and say, no, we're not having this. Well, that's not going to happen now. This deal is happening. And they're talking about once this is official, we'll know about the structure of the company and what David Zaslav plans to do with Warner Brothers Pictures. That's very important if you're a fan of DC Comics and DC live action. That's why this matters, and this is why I'm covering this today. AT&T and CEO John Stankey had indicated on the telco's recent earnings call with analysts that approval could be coming sooner than expected. It has come sooner than expected, but this is even faster than anticipated and a giant step forward to finally closing the deal. European regulators have already given its thumbs up. Discovery shareholders still need to approve the transaction, but that's considered in the bag, with major stakeholders including John Malone and Advanced Newhouse already committed to a yes vote. Basically, this would never have gone so far down the line if Discovery shareholders and CEOs weren't up for this. This is going to happen. Nothing is stopping this now. A lengthy proxy statement filed months ago with the SEC outlining the deal and relevant background. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm reading an article. You're not going to understand all of it, but it is important for us DC live action fans. That's been updated periodically with new information. Needs to go active and set the date of the Discovery stockholder meeting with at least 20 days notice. AT&T holders don't need to vote. AT&T then needs to detach Warner Media through a spin-off, the mechanics of which were announced February the 1st. AT&T shareholders will receive almost 1/4 of a share in the new Warner Brothers for each AT&T share in the hand. So a holder of 4 shares of AT&T, for example, would end up with about 1 share of Warner Brothers Discovery and AT&T. I really should have bought some shares, really, shouldn't I? I'd love to be a shareholder. Stockholders as a group will end up owning 71% of the new company. There could be some short-term volatility in Warner Brothers Discovery stock as they decide whether they want to hold it or sell it. So this is interesting. Yeah, this is interesting. I'm suspecting here that what's going to happen is when this goes through, that all the AT&T shareholders, not all of them, but most of them, will sell all this stock to David Zaslav and Discovery, making them totally in control of this brand new company. My opinion about this, you're wondering. If you're not, I'm sorry. I think this is a really good thing that David Zaslav has absolute control of this new company, because his plans are very huge. Then the big close. Wall Street and Hollywood alike have been eager to learn the particulars of the combined entity's structure and leadership, but Discovery legally has had to stay mostly mum until the transaction is complete. Execs may be willing to lend a bit more colour on a call following quarterly earnings scheduled for the morning of February the 24th. Regulators' roadblocks weren't anticipated but couldn't be entirely discounted given the new tougher stance on President Joe Biden's DOJ. But Biden is a corrupt politician. Like all politicians on the left or the right, he would have had his thumbs oiled to make sure this goes through, and we're here. Nothing's going to stop it. As per Discovery's SEC filing this morning, as of the February the 9th, Discovery Inc. and AT&T Inc. have satisfied the closing condition in Section 9.1d(I) of the agreement and plan of merger. The merger agreement dates as of May 17th, 2021, by and among Discovery, AT&T, Drake Salisbury Inc. and Melungness Inc. Spinco this doesn't really matter, but I'm reading it, relating to the Hart-Scott-Rodino Antitrust Improvements Act of 1976 as amended. The HSR Act statutory waiting period has expired or otherwise been terminated, and any agreement not to consummate the transaction between the parties and the Federal Trade Commission or the Antitrust Division of the United States Department of Justice or any other applicable governmental entity has also expired or otherwise been terminated, it said. AT&T announced plans to spin off Warner Media last May. Now, this is also interesting because that was around the time that the Snyder Cut was released. The combination, which will result in a media powerhouse led by Discovery CEO David Zaslav, sparked a flurry of consolidation and industry M&A speculation. The combined company will house two streaming services in Discovery Plus and HBO Max, a storied film studio and suite of cable network, sports, entertainment and news assets, including the recently embattled CNN. So that's something else Zaslav has to look at, because CNN have got some problems. He's going to clean up the entirety of this company, and there's no question it needs cleaning up. Zaslav will run the company, and Discovery CFO Gunnar Wildfors, his CFO, will retain that position. That's about all that's known officially, except that Jeff Zucker will not have a role. He resigned as head of CNN last week for not disclosing a relationship with a fellow employee. I think that's bullshit that this has come out all of a sudden. I think Zaslav said, I don't want you involved. They found some reason. It was a bit like Kevin Sujihara? Was that his name? Who was running Warner Brothers? All of a sudden, it came out that he was giving some woman jobs because she was having a relationship with him. They used that as the justification for him resigning. Zucker's exit was related to a CNN probe of fired host Chris Cuomo, and it got messier as subsequent reports also linked him with former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Now, this is the kind of thing that's going to happen with Zaslav. He's going to investigate everyone who's worked for the old Warner Brothers, this old company. And they're going to be doing root and branch investigations. And if they find out anything is not right, people will be cleared out of the company. A lot of people are going to be cleared out of this company and new people brought in. Warner Brothers is going to change for the better forever. Zucker's ouster has demoralised... Oh, thanks for the pop-up. Where are we? Oh, thank you. No, I don't want to subscribe. Go away. Especially Discovery's biggest shareholder, John Malone, has been critic of the network. Zucker's exit was linked to a CNN probe of fired host Chris Cuomo, and subsequent reports linked him, blah, 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 blah. The new company's board of directors will consist of 13 members, 7 initially appointed by AT&T, including the chair. Discovery will initially appoint 6 members, including Zaslav and Malone. So that's article number 1. So sorry if I paused for a minute there, but I had an annoying pop-up. Anyway, what you can see there, the period to object to the Warner Brothers Discovery merger has gone. So it's happening. Now, the CNN thing I just read to you was very important because already it looks like on the quiet, even before all this was ratified, Zaslav has been doing his due diligence. He has bought a place in California, Beverly Hills, Hollywood. He's going to be there. That's what he promised. He is going to be there and he's going to look into this existing company. He is going to clean this company up and it's going to operate for the better. This is very important for us as DC live action fans. We're going to discuss that in a moment, but next I have an article for you to read out about Ray Fisher, who suddenly piped up again. We all know why he suddenly piped up again, because the Warner Brothers Discovery deal has been ratified, and this is a very big moment for the Restore the Snyderverse community. I know a lot of you who follow me and subscribe to me on my social media are not big fans of Ray Fisher, and I know some of you are. There's been a disparity and misunderstanding of what I think about Fisher, so this is what I think of him. He's a great actor, he's a great cyborg. I backed his pushes for an investigation in the Justice League reshoots because I thought that was important, but then his sudden attacks of Walter Hamada were problematic, and it's what cost that the restoration of his Snyderverse. But it's clear that Snyder was a supporter of what Fisher was doing, considering recently he's cast him in his Rebel Moon franchise, which he's going to be making 2 movies back to back of. So there's no issue there, but Fisher has found it hard to get work within the industry since his outburst. I think what Fisher did in certain elements was tenacious and brilliant, but ultimately the conversation he had with Walter Hamada was a problem. Hamada was saying that they didn't want to get involved in an investigation into Jeff Johns. Allegedly, he asked Ray Fisher to throw Joss Whedon under the bus and leave everyone else alone. This was problematic for Ray Fisher, because if Hamada did say this, it is problematic, but he would have been taking orders from his higher-ups at Warner Brothers. So the whole thing's a mess. New leadership came in, including Walter Hamada, and they wanted to get away as far away from the Snyderverse as possible. What happened to mess that up was that John Stankey of AT&T was very, very interested after seeing the release, the Snyder Cut, campaign being so successful, very interested in releasing the Snyder Cut. So Stankey wanted it released. He was the boss of AT&T. No one at Warner Brothers could stop that, but people out there like Toby Emmerich did want Zack to release his rough cut of the movie that was on Zack's phone in black and white. Zack wasn't going to have it. As Zack said himself, they could have just turned around and said, you see, it was rubbish all along. So the reason we saw the awesome entity of the Snyder Cut and how it looked and how it was polished is because John Stankey directly gave Zack Snyder $70 million from his own pocket. Stankey was very, very positive about Snyder's future within the DCEU. He wanted the Snyderverse restored, but after what Ray Fisher was doing, Fisher made it impossible for Stankey to restore the Snyderverse. And that's where we are. What do I think of Ray Fisher now? I believe that Ray Fisher is an activist, that he really doesn't care about DC or the character of Cyborg, and it's all he cares about really is his activism. But I do support what he started to do. Unfortunately, he took it in the wrong direction. Anyway, Ray Fisher responds to Warner Brothers Black History Month tweet. Fans set I stand with Ray Fisher trending by Tom Tapp, February the 18th, 2022. Warner Brothers Home Entertainment tweeted a Black History Month tribute today, spotlighting some of our favourite DC characters, including Will Smith's Deadshot, Jebby Smollett's Black Canary, and Idris Elba's Bloodsport. Fans began responding with photos of Ray Fisher as Cyborg in Warner Brothers Justice League, and sent I stand with Ray Fisher trending on Twitter. It wasn't long before Fisher himself chimed in, retweeting the Warner Brothers post with the message, or you could try spotlighting an apology to the non-fictional black people affected by your company's racist and discriminatory practices. Of course, they're not going to do that. They're not going to admit that they're an alleged racist and discriminatory company, right? Now, obviously, he's made lots of accusations. He's accused Jeff Johns of racism for saying we don't want another angry black man. What was that about? Well, that was about basically, Zack Snyder's take was the take that you saw. So it was a very somber, cyborg character, Victor Stone at first. So what Jeff Johns wanted to do was bring a more positive version of this character. And there is a disparity here of what Jeff Johns actually meant. He didn't want an iconic black character seen in a negative light. He wasn't being racist. He wanted this character to be a bit more positive. But what Zack was doing wasn't racist either, by the way. I don't know if Warner Brothers is a racist company like Ray Fisher is alleging. Who knows? But at the end of the day, Ray Fisher is only interested in representation and inclusion and right treatment of the black community. He is not interested in representation of Latinos who don't get much representation in the industry, or Native Americans whose country it actually is. Irony isn't lost on me. Warner Brothers declined comment on this latest social media post, but Warner Media Studios CEO Ann Sarnoff addressed the situation last March. Where are we? Our investigator, Judge Catherine Forrest, has issued statements specifically about Walter Hamada, saying that there was no evidence of interference by Walter in the investigation. She said that the cuts made in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League were not racially motivated. We took it very seriously, so we hired one of the top investigators out there and gave her tremendous amount of leeway. In the statement from former federal Judge Forrest, she said, I have been asked by Warner Media to provide a statement regarding whether my investigation revealed supported evidence as to racial animus or insensitivity, as to race or disability, and with regards to such allegations specifically directed at John Berg, Jeff Johns and Toby Emmerich. My investigation involved more than 80 interviews, the review of thousands of pages of documents, and over 2,000 hours of work by me and my colleagues. And I and my staff reached out twice to every member of the cast and crew involved in the Justice League reshoots. More than 600 people, as well as the individuals Ray Fisher specifically requested we interview. We spoke with every individual who would speak with us and all of the people that Mr. Fisher asked us to speak with. I found no credible support for claims of racial animus or racial or disability insensitivity. Fisher has repeatedly called out the studio and director Joss Whedon, who replaced Zack Snyder on Justice League, tearing into the studio on social media for what he called Whedon's gross and abusive behaviour on the film and the support Whedon received from Warner's Toby Emmerich producers Jeff Johns and John Berg and DC Films boss Walter Hamada. Warner Media conducted an internal probe in late 2020 at Fisher's urging and later announced that the investigation into the Justice League movie has concluded and remedial action has been taken. It's not the first time Fisher has ripped Warner Brothers on social media, when in the wake of the Derek Chauvin trial verdict last year, the studio voiced its commitment to be a part of the solution by using our platforms to advance racial equity and social justice. Fisher replied, "How fucking dare you," at Warner Media. "Oh, now I'm pissed." Right, so this is why a lot of people don't like Ray Fisher, because this started off as a push for an investigation into gross and abusive kind of treatments from a director to his film set, and then it became about racism. How did we go from Zack being robbed of his franchise to it being all about racism? Well, that's because Ray Fisher is an activist, and he manipulated the whole situation. So he went from being there for Zack, right? And I don't really think he's there for Zack. He's there for Ray, as far as I'm concerned. And now it's become about racism. Surprise, surprise, no shit, Sherlock. I'm not surprised about that. Now, I can't stand here and say, beyond any doubt that Warner Brothers have never done anything racist or acted improperly. So I don't know who's telling the truth here and who's lying. But at the end of the day, things happened. So What does this mean going forward? In a month's time, just under a month's time, David Zaslav and Warner Discovery are coming. And as I've already said, huge changes are happening, whether you like Ray Fisher or not, right? The entertainment industry is grossly toxic. And behind the scenes, you don't see what happens behind the scenes. You see them being nice on social media. You see them saying we're all a family on your DVD, Blu-ray and your 4K, bonus features. But that's not the reality of the situation. So what's David Zaslav going to do? We live in an era now where people want justice, where people want to work on a film set without being bullied. It's not too much to ask. But there's a lot going on here, because at Warner Brothers Pictures, you've got Ann Sarnoff, who was not there during the Justice League reshoots. Walter Hamada, who officially wasn't there, but probably was there in an unofficial capacity. And I think Ray Fisher has hinted towards that. What's going to happen is, just like what happened at CNN, David Zaslav is going to come in and he's going to look at this studio, he's going to look at how it operates, and he will remove the people that he feels created a cover-up during the Justice League reshoot situation, right? And so at this moment in time, there's rumours that Ann Sarnoff will be gone, that Toby Emmerich will be gone. I don't know. Now, we know that Ann Sarnoff and Toby Emmerich and Jim Lee and Walter Hamada have constructed this new way forward for the DC Extended Universe and DC Live Action, the multiverse strategy. So far, so good. Peacemaker was amazing. The Justice League cameos, no matter what the propaganda merchants said, were absolutely fantastic. It's going well. The Batman is amazing. It's going to make loads of money. Critics love it. I've spoken to a lot of critics and I haven't heard a bad word said about this movie. This is going to get around 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. No doubts about that. Then it's Black Adam. Will the reception for Black Adam in the box office be good? We'll have to wait and see. Then it's Flashpoint. Then it's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. All these films have to be successful and this strategy has to work. But that's not the only thing that the people at Warner Brothers Pictures have to worry about. David Zaslav could fire them all. He could create a new film department, right? So he has a tighter control on what's going on. This is a huge investment by Discovery. They haven't come in just to sit there and applaud people. They've come in to look at this company. We know that David Zaslav has approached people who feel like they've been abused or mistreated, directors, actors. That's why he moved to Hollywood months ago. He's been talking to a lot of people. He's spoken to Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is interested in working with WB again, but he has some provisos. And one of them, yes, is to restore the Snyderverse, is the removal of Jason Kilar, which I don't think will be a problem. It was Jason Kilar who ratified the day and date thing last year because of COVID. I've defended day and date. I still think it was the only thing that they could do. They couldn't delay the films. They wanted to make money. They did the best thing for their bottom line. But they didn't do the best thing for the art form. There's no question about that. They could have taken a hit and been for the artists. They didn't do that. And so it's a very complicated situation. But it's not a complicated situation if you're David Zaslav, because in 4 weeks' time everything changes. It's Warner Brothers Discovery. They're going to announce very soon their team they're bringing in. I think they're going to gut Warner Brothers Pictures. That's what I believe. I think they're going to gut it and they want overall control. One of the things that staggered me about the AT&T buyout is that AT&T just sat there and did nothing. They allowed the same people to continue to run Warner Brothers Pictures. If it was me, I would have heard the rumours. I would have gotten in there and had a look at myself and said, you know what? We have to look at the Snyder situation. We can't just release the Snyder Cut and not look at the situation that caused the Snyder situation. Whose fault was it that Snyder was brought on, right? And I'm talking about fault. I love Zack Snyder's Snyderverse, of course I do. But who brought him on? Who thought about this? Well, it was people who are not even there anymore. But Toby Emmerich was there, right? Toby Emmerich wanted to release a rough cut of the Snyder Cut. That says a lot about him. Heads are going to roll here. So even though I don't like the propaganda merchants and the shit they're saying about the multiverse strategy, right? I understand your anger. and your frustration because you think that Zack Snyder has every right to restore his vision. And I agree with you. I just think the way some of you go about it is wrong. But you can rest assured that in a month's time we are getting Warner Brothers Discovery, and the face of this company is going to change forever. That doesn't mean the multiverse strategy will be dead, by the way, and Hamada's plans are dead. I think the plans of a multiverse strategy are very good ones, but it doesn't mean somebody else can't come in and become president of DC Films. So potentially Hamada could be sacked. Everyone at Warner Brothers Pictures, you know, high up like Ann Sarnoff and Toby Emmerich and the rest of them could be gone. It could be a situation where he waits to come in and let things settle down, or he could come in with a sledgehammer and gut the entire company. I think that, you know, films are coming out this year. Nothing's going to change this year. But there is a reality. There is a potential for the Snyderverse to be restored. I believe with what David Zaslav has been saying publicly, I think he will restore the Snyderverse. He even had boards of the Snyder Cut when they were talking about the future of DC. So I believe he will restore the Snyderverse. That's for sure. You know, it'll be in a corner somewhere. I think that's going to happen. But he's going to investigate. He's going to look at how the entirety of this company is run. And if he doesn't like it, you are gone. This is the reality. But rest assured, the projects that we're excited about this year are happening. Some projects for next year may be cancelled. J.J. Abrams' Superman of colour may be cancelled. I haven't heard a lot about that. I don't know about Michael B. Jordan's Val Zod project, but rest assured what we're looking forward to this year is happening. So I don't want you to worry about that. And I think the multiverse strategy could be safe under a new leadership. But one thing's for sure, that someone like Zaslav, who's already spoken very eloquently, has said that, you know, Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman must be front and centre. So I expect Superman, for example, to get more love. I do expect Cavill's Superman to return in the future, if we're not already going to see him in The Flash and Black Adam and Shazam, Fury of the Gods. So we are heading for an unknown future. But as far as I'm concerned, Zaslav and Discovery merging with Warner Brothers is the best thing that could have happened here. Things are going to be cleaned up, and ultimately in the next 5 years you're going to be seeing and hearing of a lot of, you know, great things. Warner Brothers own DC. That's why I stand them. That's why they're important to me. But I've been supporting Warner Brothers since I first saw Superman the movie, right? So I support them, but I don't support, you know, abusive and racist and, you know, discriminatory behaviour. And so I want things to be better. Listen, we can't shy away from it. The way they treated Zack Snyder when the reaction to his films happened was wrong. It was reactive. I believe that will be fixed. I believe everyone who feels hard done by this leadership of Warner Brothers will feel a lot happier. So it's going to be a more positive place to work. And yes, Zack Snyder will return eventually, but I do believe that the DCEU will be a place where they want to bring in the general audience, but also want to please Zack Snyder fans and other people who want different things from DC. So you're going to see a lot of things. So this is not a bad thing for DC fans. This is a great thing for DC fans. A new and uncertain future, but a great future for DC live action. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss his perfection, and it is perfection. I'm biased, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until then, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.